good at technology, so it's like I hate what I'm doing. Like,
I'm not good
that's
at
not
that.
what it's supposed to be.
I thought technology is supposed to make everything so much easier, and I am
Right?
viscerally feeling that no, this is not easier.
Not feeling the love. Not at all.
Mm-mm.
Not at all. So have you been? How's your day? You look pretty.
Over and over again, like we both got cute. Like,
I know, right?
I mean, like I know this doesn't look like a lot,
Who
but this is like more than I've done since I've been working, like back when I used to work with people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Every now and then I dress up for no reason and just take pictures of me and with the kids in the house. I just always there's always like, oh, do you have a fresh picture? Do you have, I'm like, God, because I have to start taking them on a regular basis now. So I do.
Thing that I hate about getting older is like, oh, I can't use that picture from 20 years ago. That was
Right? It's like,
why
I don't
can't
look
use
like
that?
that anymore.
It's
It's like a
not
way
feeling
better
me.
picture. And I'm just like, damn it. What can I do?
You do look absolutely flawless, though.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
My small one came in this morning and did an ombre lip for me. I was like, oh, that's cute.
It was really cute. It is really cute, though.
It was fun. Like, this is more effort than I spent on my wedding.
You look good.
Thank you. My
I mean,
husband,
you always look good, but this is good, too.
I went out to the kitchen and my husband was like, oh my God. What? You can do that? I haven't seen you in anything but yoga pants in like a year.
That's a thing? Hey, baby.
We can do that? Like,
That is fabulous.
it was this moment of like, wait, stranger in house? No, not stranger in house. Wife just put on makeup. What? Oh my
No,
God.
it's not a different thing.
Okay,
I
so
don't
like
know what I'm doing down there.
you
What'd you say?
you did a whole barrage of stuff that I was like, okay, so you talked about your life in Africa, you talked about clown college, all in 2 paragraphs, and I'm like, I'm dizzy.
I sure did. I don't even remember what I said right now because I'm like obsessed with why do I have too many cameras? Like I had you, there you go. I had you on the main screen and then all of a sudden I was like, I'm looking at me. I don't want to see me. Why is she little? So yeah.
Hey, no, you're the cute.
I just went through a
That
thing, but I'm
hat is
okay now.
fabulous. I'm
Thank you. I got it on Curvy Sense and it was like $8 and I was like, if I did not want to do my hair, that is what I would want to be wearing.
I just want to
And
pet
I would
it.
be held.
It's giving me 90s vibes. I just want to pet
Thank
it.
you so much. Those are the exact vibes that I was going for.
Yes, well, you rocked it. I'm feeling like underdone.
Look, you look fabulous. I'm loving this shirt, like this little detail with
You
the
like
sleeve,
with
and it keeps moving in the breeze. It's like you're some kind of a coral goddess. It's cute.
I'm feeling very
Exactly.
yes.
Grace is with
Hair.
your presence.
All of this. I actually shaved off like about an inch back here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
So this is where ethnicity gets very entertaining in my world. My dad is New York Jew, meaning he could grow the Jew fro, and he did through like the
like
entire
fully.
70s. Yeah, he had oh shit. That was an arm. You know, it's been such a bad
I'm
week.
sorry.
He had the full, it like almost went 2 inches, like full fro.
Wow.
Yeah. And then he married this little California girl with like blonde hair, blue eyes, very skinny strand hair.
Well,
So I get dreadlocks back here like
That's
every day.
hilarious.
Yeah. And I break brushes. And so I'm like, you know what? We're just going to get rid of the part that dreads all the time so I can like deal with the summer. And
Yeah.
I can't even apparently show you how big my dad's hair was without dislocating a shoulder. So the brushing.
Sorry, babe.
And seriously, look at this. Like, this is insane. This has a life and a zip code of its own. It's like my butt. It has a zip code.
It's pretty though. At least you have pretty hair.
I'm going full Rapunzel. This is like down to my waist.
Wow, that's a lot of hair, but it's cute though. How long does it take to dry?
I don't know because I don't. So I asked for bangs the last time I went in because I had a like Keira Knightley fringe moment, and I'm like, bang talks that will get rid of all the wrinkles up here if I get bangs. And I asked the lady if she would, I want bangs, and she's like, what styling products do you have at home? I'm like, conditioner and
I
shampoo?
thought that's just a yes or no question. You're asking me about styling products.
Condition or shampoo? It's like, no. Curling irons, curlers, hair dryer. Do you own a hair dryer? No.
Oh, you mean doing hair like a professional person? Okay.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, I don't own a hair dryer. I don't have any of this stuff. I shower and then I put my hair in a like towel like wrap thing and then do a top knot bun, and that dries by morning.
Go on about your business.
I'm not putting any more effort into this.
It's a lot.
That's the height of what I'm willing to deal with.
Yeah, when I permed my hair, it took like 2 hours to do a whole rigmarole because, you know, I'm not even going to go into the whole thing with the nightmare that is to upkeep a black hairstyle when you've relaxed your hair from its natural curly. It's just so much. Even having natural hair. Would you say?
I'm just curious how you deal with like sitting in a chair for that long. Like I can't
anymore.
Everyone I know who has black hair, who deals with like the braiding, or which is gorgeous, or the relaxing, it's like, oh my God, that's how many hours?
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing though. My niece does them, and you know, when I put braids in, she does big braids, and you know, they don't take long, and she does it while I'm lying in bed. So it's like I'm not doing anything different. We watch TV. So it's not like I sit in a chair. And then once the braids are in, I don't have to do my hair in the morning for like however many weeks it takes. And I do like the little spray or dry shampoo to keep it clean. But yeah, I don't have to deal with that. My biggest problem is if I leave them in too long, I have a problem. If I don't, you know, do the little upkeep or have my niece do it, my hair will dread immediately. Like before the end of the day, I too will have dreadlocks and not just in the back.
And I don't get cute ones either. Like it's not cute dreadlocks.
I was going to say the same thing. It's not like mine.
Yeah, no, it's like 1990s, like hacky sack guy at Chico. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, even if you have like, you know, the closest people to having like black textured hair are, in my experience, the Jewish people, and sometimes even that is just like, yeah, those dreads are not going to work out, you know. So I understand.
It's all of the ability to dread with none of the pretty. Like, I
understand that because I just went through combing out dreads in my hair the last time I got braids, so I could get more braids, and it was a nightmare. My entire head was dreadlocks, and I had to sit there with like a little toothpick and unnarl them. It was a nightmare. But it's not the first time I've done it.
I love our, like, I don't even know why we bought
Clown College. Yeah.
Clown College. We're just going to have a show called Set on Random because I just was talking to you.
Call the show Clown College because
you were asking what your podcast
is Clown College.
You were asking what your podcast would be named.
Clown College. Should I really call it Clown College?
I'm on so many drugs right now. Yes, why not? I actually went into my physical therapist yesterday, and he has the full mask on. His eyebrows still went up his hairline. He was still like,
"Wow,
be gone, demon!" And that was like while I was on every medication I had.
Well,
long story short, Clown College sounds good right now. I have no idea if it's not good to go up.
Right?
This is when my son walks in and he's like, "So Mom, can I do this, this, and this?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Asking me this right now? No, don't ask me. You know what medication I just took. No."
Exactly. I tell them, listen.
Do your kids do that too? Do they like wait for you to do?
They try to sneak they try to pull one over on you. Like, "Oh, can I have some soda now?" You know what? I know. Everything is no because you guys know that I'm about to be knocked out. So
I think that needs to be like, we need to put signs on our door that's just like, all questions will be met with no, all questions will be met with maybe.
Exactly. Or I am not taking questions at this time.
That was supposed to be a laugh and it came out as a cackle.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I was thinking, did her clavicle just pop out while she was laughing?
Yes, actually.
Oh dear. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
let's see if you can see this, but do you see that the wrist bone is actually like in the middle of my hand?
No, I see it.
Yeah.
Oh my
I woke
gosh.
up 3 times last night with I dislocated both shoulders in the middle of the night. So I woke up 2 times to like relocate shoulders because I went numb. And then I woke up the last time because I dislocated my hip. And it's like relocate a leg to get blood
Oh,
flow
man.
going. And then I was
Oh
able
my.
to go back to sleep for like a few hours, but I am wrecked today. Like, done. I tried
I,
to like, point at something to my daughter. I was like, oh, go do this. And like the wrist just went snap. I'm like,
oh crap.
so I'm not writing today. I was going to write a chapter. I'm not going to be drawing today. I was trying to finish an illustration today. I'm like, I am going to talk to Tinu today.
Dude. It's a
I'm
lot.
looking to Tinu. Say hi. It's been 2 weeks, which feels weird.
I know. And since when do we not talk like every single week, all of the time, nonstop?
I mean, I guess it is a good thing that we don't live in the same state. That would be trouble.
I know, right?
We at least have like time zones to contend
I'm
with.
listening to you, but I'm adjusting my whole area.
Are you kidding? I'm
It's a good
teenagers.
thing
I'm
that we
listening
don't
to
like
you mean
live.
like you've walked out the door and you'll still say I'm listening to you. Right? That's just how it goes around here. Okay, so I am dying to hear about your life in Africa because like you were going on like 3 paragraphs of what life was like in Africa, and
That's
then
the thing though. What was I talking about? Because when I talk about life in Africa, I could be talking about 800 different things. Were we talking about power outages? Maybe that was it.
you were, because I think you were dealing with power outages, and I am being threatened with them.
Okay, yeah. So, in Nigeria, we have this like the infrastructure is not really there. Even if you're, unless you're a wealthy person who lives in like the upscale area, but it's just not really, set up so that people have electricity all the time. They just don't. But on the other hand, it's like not like, people are really paying electricity bills because of that issue. So if you live in certain parts of, like for me, it was the Ikeja, is like in the Lagos area. If you live in certain parts of town, your electricity will go off at any time indefinitely. Now, if you're on the higher end of the minuscule middle class, or at the low end of the rich class, which is really what it is, then you have like a kerosene generator that you can use. And but you still have to be careful because you don't know if like there'll be a kerosene shortage or there won't be enough. So you have to keep everything charged. You have to make sure that your ice box will work for a couple of days if it's not plugged in. There's so many things that you have to think of. And heat.
Wait, can I ask an ignorant question real quick?
Ask as many ignorant questions as you like.
Because like this is so foreign. Like the only like is that my ex-wife was from Guatemala and she would tell me these stories of rolling blackouts like every day.
Right.
Blackouts. What do you do if you're diabetic and you have to have insulin in a refrigerator, or if you are on like some sort of breathing machine or heart machine? Like, how do you deal with that with rolling blackouts?
I mean, you have a generator or, you have a problem. That's really what it is. You're going to get an electric generator that will let you like, it'll carry like a small house or a big flat. And the thing is, you got to make sure you have kerosene to put in it. Sometimes there's actually a shortage of the kerosene and then you can't operate the generator. And then it's just like, general chaos. But
there's like subsidies from the government to pay for that for families who don't have money.
The government is what makes Nigeria full on corrupt. None of that oil money goes to the people or infrastructure, the roads, the hospital. Like it gets embezzled like almost immediately. So a lot, and then when you have somebody in there who's halfway decent, they're spending all the money catching up on like whatever was not paid or whatever's not operational from before. So there's never any like, you would think a nation that has that much oil money would have like the social programs and all that other stuff. But, there's just so many things that were broken by by colonialism and then the end of colonialism that were not fixed, like when a country comes in and dominates you and then pulls out, and they even take like the toilet paper off the rolls and they break the roads so that you can't use them anymore and fling things into the train tracks so you can't use your rail system. Like they destroy things as they were leaving. So we had
no
to
idea
recover
about that.
destruction.
How did I not know about that?
Yeah. Because
How?
we don't write the history books. Like, none of us write the history books. That's why,
Do you feel like history is like being a biological, like having ovaries? Like there's so much where you're like, that is the worst thing I've ever heard. Wait, what? There's more? No.
Right.
No one told me about that. Like,
right.
Every time I hear someone talking about history, I'm like, I feel pretty educated. I have bookshelves of history books.
Mm-hmm.
I practically double majored in history in college. And every time I talk to someone, I find out something that I'm like, how did I not know?
I mean, I think one is just there's only but so many things that you can like specialize in and have knowledge of off the top of your head, even if you're well read. But then a lot of it is it just doesn't make it into the historical record. It just doesn't make it in there, or nobody's really keeping track of it because they're too busy surviving. There's not a whole bunch of things that I can read about the period right after the British left Nigeria, for example, and I imagine it's because there's a lot of prolific writers in Nigeria. There always have been, even going back to, our oral traditions, where one of the people, like Yoruba people, have a written language. It's not just an oral language. So it's just weird that that part of history doesn't get filled in. There was also like a civil war in Nigeria where you get a lot of accounts of like fictional things that happen, but generally there's not the same amount of information that you would think you would have for something that tore like part of the country apart, over land and oil rights and all of these things. So I don't know. It just depends on is somebody even keeping track in the first place? Are all of those people gone? Did anybody care? It's interesting. I don't know.
I mean, like I tell you what, I got off track, but I just want to get off track for one more
cool.
second.
When are we ever on track? When are we like? What is a track?
I think that the thing that I wave as I just keep crossing over it back and forth, like zigzag all the time. One of the things that I thought was really interesting in the last year and a half is storytellers like Jordan Peele and shows like The Watchmen that are taking moments of history. And I'm really wondering if Hollywood's starting to wake up to their responsibility of like, these aren't in our history books. Like Tulsa Massacre, that was the first time most people heard about Tulsa Massacre was on The Watchmen.
Right.
And it's like
people still don't know about Red Summer.
No, and so my husband is on a show for, he does role-playing for Call of Cthulhu, and so they were talking about Lovecraft Country, which Jordan Peele is, I think, executive producer.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so like they did all the stuff about the Jim Crow laws, and my husband and all of his group did a talk about, because they all read Lovecraft, they all know it, and they hate Lovecraft's huge racism. And so they're really excited to see how this Lovecraft got redone in a way that, really great. But the comments were things like, it was a good show, but we're really it can't be that many white people were bad. Okay, no.
They didn't think of it as bad. They thought of it as default.
Exactly. And like things like that couldn't exist without a popular vote, like without a popular ingrained feeling. And it was just so sad to hear someone say that, because like that's missing apparently in our mass education in this country.
It's like we kind of made an agreement where, well, if we stop talking about racism, we'll like half-ass about helping everybody out. But the instant we start to talk about that, that's going to be problems, because it's not just about like the racism being perpetrated against Black people. Like that's a big deal, obviously, in Black. And I want that to be solved. But there's also the fact that racism is used to distract from other problems in this country, poverty, not having a proper social system, not having nationalized, health care, all of those things we would have if it wasn't for racism. The reason, like literally, that we don't have a lot of that stuff is people don't want Black people to have them. That's like the whole reason. So,
yeah. And First Nations people,
and First Nations people especially.
Like if you research the laws for how things work on reservations, and what kind of violence happens to First Nations people and how that gets no one will look into it. Like all of the missing First Nations girls, like, oh my God, like this is horrifying. Like if you have never heard of this before, please go.
Oh, I've heard of it. Yes.
Yeah, like like anyone listening to this, if you have not
alarming.
heard, just to go look, because oh my God, this is on our, this is happening now, real time. And
yeah, and it
in
took
the Black community is real time. Like yeah, this
it took people posting about it and talking about it in social every day for several years before it ever even started to poke into, mainstream knowledge. And
I remember this time Black Lives Matter became a thing that someone said, and it was like, of course. And then it, like, listening to the blowback was like, are you kidding me? Like how? And then it just kind of like became sort of side until it just wasn't side. It was like,
right. I mean, somebody finally said, let's name the organization this, but then, and then how can it be on the side if it's a thing? So yeah, it's always very puzzling to me, because it's like Matthew, what is his name? McQuarrie. He was the guy on Scandal who he always got left out of everything, and he was dating, what is that girl's name? Michaela. So I don't know if you watched that show, but he was on Scandal, and he's, I'm really impressed with I'm impressed with him, because especially for like a young white kid, he was way into, all the protesting and all the social justice before a lot of the other, mainstream Hollywood actors caught on. And one of the things that he said was, they say save the rainforest. It doesn't mean F all other, types of vegetation. Like, who assumes that? But then if you look at it the converse way, those groups that say things like white power, that's what they mean. It's us and nobody else. So people who think like that think that we're saying that because that's how they think. It never occurs to them that, no, we mean literally the words that he said and nothing else.
I want to beat my head against a wall. I can't imagine how I feel. Like,
yeah, I can relate to that. I can relate to that.
It's
constant state of being.
I mean, I'm always there with feminism, so I cannot imagine like feminism and like you have.
Oh, it's super fun.
Yeah, you have the everything set on like skill set level hard.
Yeah, I don't know how the button got stuck in that position.
Right.
But it is what it is. I can't like not live,
I was just talking to a friend of mine who she just got through breast cancer, and she was like, I don't know how you do sick all the time. You're so brave. I'm like, okay, we're going to remove the word brave.
Oh boy. Brave. How can you be brave for something that you have to do? That's what I don't get.
It's very sweet, but I'm like, Malala was brave. Yeah. She made a choice. She could have just done everything the way that would save her life, or she could do the big scary thing. She chose to do big scary thing.
Right.
If you gave me the choice to do this, I would absolutely pick no.
Oh, you for real? I would say no. Hell no. Is there a box for F no? Like, how no can I know?
How far over on no can I be? Like, can
exactly. Without rounding back around to yes, how no can I go?
Yeah. Without going 360. What's the limit? I know it's 180, but I feel like it's not enough. Like,
right? Oh God. Can you imagine?
I can't. I almost like broke down because I'm usually pretty like, whatever, this is my life, whatever. I had this moment where we drove past this couple who was going for a walk. And they're just out walking, like whatever. And I'm like, what would that feel like? Honestly,
right?
Like, what would it feel like to just wake up in the morning and go, I think I'd like to walk to the kitchen and make coffee.
Okay.
Like, what would that be like?
To wake up in the morning and be like, I'm just going to get out of bed and just go pee because I need to go. Not because my legs work now. Like, I don't have to, I remember a time when I didn't have to do the systems checks. I've had like asthma and anemia since birth, but I haven't had like serious conditions since birth. So I have like some time period, like in my 20s, especially, when I could do things like, wow, I woke up and now I'm awake. And now I'll just get out of bed. And now I'll just go to the bathroom. And now I have to think about every step. And it's so irritating. There's so much extra labor. And then people can't understand, oh, well, why are you so fatigued? Because my body does not work.
I think the only way to explain it is like, have you ever had like one of those days where you had to make a ton of emotional decisions and like tactical decisions, scheduling, making decisions about how you're going to be in like 5 places at once, and how you're possibly going to like be at the school for like the appointment, how you're going to be at work, how you're going to take that phone call on the way to work. And like times
how are you going to pay for it all?
Exactly. And that's just like a step of like how we have to decide how we're going to get to the bathroom.
Yep.
Like
constantly, every day, nonstop.
That level of decision making all the time.
I would love if this camera would just be steady and I could stop having to keep touching it without you only being able to see like the top of my eyes.
I mean, this is 2020. All we've seen is the top of everyone's eyes. Okay, so Nigeria. Were you sick when you were in Nigeria? Were you having to deal with the medical system in Nigeria, or were you?
No, actually, you know, when I had really bad asthma when we left, but when we got there, it was like the early 80s, and we didn't live like in the middle, in the city. We lived on Victoria Island, and the air was just better generally. So I didn't have like one asthma attack or any problems the whole time I was in Nigeria. So as far as physically being sick, I didn't have those kind of problems. I had problems like, oh, you have malaria and you might die. And then wouldn't be sick.
You had malaria?
Oh, I've had malaria like 3 times, yes. I had malaria once when I was a kid. I was like 7 years old. I was staying in my aunt's house. Okay, my aunt's mansion. She's a judge in Nigeria. And her place is incredible. And I could talk about that for hours and hours and hours. The only memory I have of it is the main memory I have of it is waking up and turning over and looking at my father staying over on the bed, and he's just looking at me like, you know, when somebody's deep in thought trying to decide what to do, that's how he was looking at me. And he was looking at me like I was a decision, and I was just like, this is bad. And I went back to sleep. But yeah, so I had it when I was a kid. I almost died. And then when we went back to Nigeria, I'm trying to figure out how to explain this without sounding a certain way. So I'll just say it. When we got there, there was an issue with us having enough malaria medicine for the babies. It's the same medicine if you take it in pills, but, you know, it's smushed up and, you know, suspended for the kids, and then you get like a regular tablet. But for some reason we ran out and we couldn't get a hold of my brother-in-law, who was the only person who could, you know, get the stuff for us from the pharmacy, because unlike here, you can just go to the pharmacy and get stuff. And there was nobody had a house, nobody had a car, the electricity's out, we couldn't call anybody. So I decided, well, I cannot take mine for a couple of days because I'm only here for 3 weeks. I'm going back to America. And then when I get there, I'll send more medicine. Well, I got really, really, really sick. And I was already, you know, having issues. I didn't almost die that time, but I also had the chronic illness stuff. So I'm taking like the gabapentin and there was something else I was taking, but the combination of them made me hallucinate. I thought I was going to die the whole plane ride home. I almost didn't make it to the airport. They tried to switch my flight, but then I would have had 4 layovers, and one of them would have been in France, which is, you know, a problem that I'll talk about another day. Not my personal problem. It's just there's certain places in Europe that are bad places to transfer for African people because they just believe that we were born criminals, you know, especially from certain countries. Especially from, you know, everybody thinks the 419 thing started in, well, I say 419, but the Nigerian princess scam or whatever it is, like that didn't even actually start in Nigeria. So it's a shame that we got the reputation for that. There was going to be a documentary about it, but because of things like that and like organized fraud, people think that, you know, anybody who is associated with Nigeria must be bad. But then you have the reverse on the other side where everybody thinks, you know, you're an American, you must know, you know, hip hop and Michael Jackson. Like, so there's like reverse stereotypes too. But yeah, so I got really sick by skipping my doses so there'd be enough medicine for everybody, because I was the only person who was leaving the country. It like made sense at the time until I started coughing. So yeah. Yep, malaria, not fun, but didn't die. Apparently nothing can kill me. Like, I've had like 8 brushes with death.
Okay, so maybe the podcast maybe nothing can kill me, brushes with death, or what I do die.
Clown college. Don't forget
clown college. I like we got
Nobody ever believes that. I talked about it on Twitter a little bit.
Clown college?
I came back. Yeah, I left them.
I cannot get out of my head. You've told me like a billion things. I'm like, you know that game where you play where someone's like, okay, tell me 4 things about yourself that sound like they're a movie but aren't, and what's true. Like the one thing that always sticks out for me is clown college. I'm like, no, I just can't. I like everything else. I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? But clown college, it's like, what?
So many people get fixated on it. It just doesn't go with me. Nobody looks at me and thinks, yeah, she used to be a clown. Like maybe a clown now, like not used to be. Not with the full makeup. Like, really? A clown? Yeah. And it's funny that they also called it clown college because it's not a college.
I'm guessing that there's like no BA in like pie and face.
I mean, yeah, probably not.
It should be. I mean,
to learn though.
It's performance. That's some awesome stuff to learn. That's public. I'm sorry, I can't.
You tried.
And my
good effort. It was a good effort.
Nope, I just watched Democratic convention. My critical powers are gone now. Not to say it was bad. It was actually really good. It was surprisingly good. My critical powers are gone.
No, I understand. Yesterday was the first time I slept since the power went out here in Texas. It was supposed to be out for like a couple hours. It was out for like 7 hours. And I got sleep in the beginning of it because, the house is still cool. But then I woke up in the middle of the terrible, terrible heat. And it just did not, by the time the air had cooled back in the house, because for some reason all of the houses in Texas are just way bigger than they need to be, and just heating up, cooling down all that space. We've got the vaulted ceilings and whatnot. So it just, by the time it cooled down, it was time for work. And I was like, oh, so I guess I'm not sleeping, I hadn't even prepped for the things that I needed to do. So last night was my first night of full sleep since that happened Sunday night. So I understand, because yesterday I was like, by the afternoon, I was no longer operational. Like nobody was home.
Yeah.
I was just all girls.
I have pots, and we actually had Texas weather here. We had thunderstorms and lightning. That's why we have all the fires. We have 100,000 acres are burning right now. Because storms, and so yeah, it's kind of scary. But the heat got like past 100, and my heart went out. Like I bottomed out 36 beats per minute, so I couldn't like lift my head. I was just laying on the bed, just like done.
Oh my god!
Finished. No, nothing's gonna happen today.
Right.
So I watched Glow Up, the second season, because I could not follow anything other than a makeup reality show. That was it. That was my.
And that. I mean, sometimes it's like that. Like I think, and it really clicked with me when I watched Selma Blair's interview after, she did that amazing step and repeat with her cane for the Oscars. She just, she said, sometimes I have bad days and you have to, that's what it is. And you get in bed and you rest and you get through it. And you just accept that you can't do anything. Like that day, it took a long time for me to be able to say, I'm just going to lay in bed and watch TV and get better. Because it feels like doing nothing, but I had to train myself to think, you're recovering. That is something. Your body's working really hard. You're going to have to sit down and shut up. I tease my mom about how she can't sit still all the time, but I'm the same way.
I feel that. I have this, like, I need to earn my place every day. Earn the place I take up. And it's the biggest amount of self-hate. Like, that's like one of the worst things I keep telling myself is I have to earn my place every day. And it's like,
right. Or earn rest. Like somebody tweeted yesterday, you don't have to earn rest. And I was like, yeah, I don't. Like, for real. I feel I do stuff like, okay, if I finish this next task, I will have earned that nap. And it's like, who earns it? Like, what does that make any sense?
And my cats absolutely don't think it makes sense. They believe that gods and goddesses that walk the earth that deign to allow us to pet them, and they're allowed 1 hour of activity if they've rested for 24.
Yep. Come in. the kids are texting me like, why can't they come in? And the stuff that they replaced with that was the other reason I was late. Cheesecake Factory sent me Red Lobster for some reason. Hi, Mikey. So
here's like my big confession. I've never had cheesecake.
Okay, why are you guys all coming when I'm on?
No, seriously, like I've never had cheesecake ever.
I had never had cheesecake. I thought it was like, I tasted it once and thought it was disgusting. And then one of my mentors, Kathy Corman Fry of Hot Mama's Project, she took me as a business meeting to Cheesecake Factory, and I was just thinking, this place is like, okay, this is ridiculous. We're going to eat food at a place the cheesecake. And then I had this Oreo cheesecake. It's one slice. It took me like a week to eat it. It was so delicious. It was very, very rich, which I can only fit like 2 spoonfuls or something rich into my body. But yeah, so I just didn't know they could make it taste like cookies or strawberry shortcake or Reese's Pieces. Like, I didn't know that. But yeah, I'm into gourmet cheesecake now, and I'm going to be 400, maybe 500 pounds. So, get it while it's good.
Like when I went to Italy, like I gained probably like 10 or 15 pounds when I was in Italy. I'm like, you know what? I love every single ounce of that because it was all such good food.
The only place I've ever visited where I lost weight despite eating everything was Nigeria. Ooh. But it's just like some of the food is, despite it being so delicious, it's healthy, which is sad that I had to say that. But my mom, especially, she makes this spinach, and it's my favorite thing in the world. Like, it's this kind of stewed spinach. I would eat it every day if she would make it every day. And I keep trying to make it, and it keeps coming out as a disaster. So it's just this ongoing joke about how I can cook everything but the one thing that is my favorite meal.
I developed a recipe for cinnamon rolls, and my son was really, one of his friends was really sad about something. So he came in yesterday, like, all right, I need the recipe. So he just like because I don't have it written down anywhere. I'm not a baker. I'm good. I just don't have
right.
Like, there's no this cup. It's like a pinch of this, a handful of this, a half handful of that.
That's how my mom cooks. Her food's delicious. I'm with it.
Not better than mine. Like, he made it, and he was like, the cinnamon rolls were like 3 inches tall. They were sticky the whole way through. They were like, it was like Paul Hollywood would have absolutely given this kid a handshake. And I was like, what? I was talking to my mom. I'm like, what did he do that I didn't do? And she's like, honey, he can knead the bread. You can only knead it. Right. He was there. Like, I talked to my husband. He's like, I was almost afraid for the counters. Like,
excuse me for 1 second.
Yeah.
Will you kids? That's why they're behaving now.
That's
after
good.
The yelling comes this quiet. What'd you say?
Yeah.
Oh, and it's tiring. Before I never would have thought of yelling as a tiring activity, but it is. There's like this whole like a projecting aspect to it.
No, like parenting is like, it was so much easier when I was feeling better. Like, I'm just myself as a mother, because I used to be all about consistency, and I can't remember what I said anymore. Like, I just remember like what I said was supposed to happen. Like, I can't check back in. So
if I don't write it down, it didn't happen, and I never said it. So, like, how am I supposed to?
And they're so smart. They're so much smarter than me now.
Oh, I'm so glad they're smarter than me. They're way smarter than me, and I'm loving it. It's hard for me to keep up with them, but I do love that.
I'm just lucky that they're awesome humans and they're helpful, because otherwise I'd be so screwed.
Well, I mean, the smart ones usually are for some reason. Every now and then you get an evil genius, but
I'm still waiting on the jury for my son on if he's just like where he's gonna end up on that one. He likes messing with me all the time. That's his favorite I really did set because I was really young when I had him, so we
okay, that changes the dynamic of the relationship, I think. When my niece is in her 20s, and it's just different helping to raise her when I was in my 20s versus now.
Yeah, it's a different thing. And it was just him and I for a long time.
Wow, just the two of you. Goodness me.
For quite a bit. So it's a lot of like us against the world sort of stuff. And
oh, wow, that must be very bonding.
In some ways, I don't know. I don't know. He doesn't remember a lot of stuff, which is really awesome. I think that's.
Oh yes. Oh, you blocked that out. Fantastic. Yeah.
Like, oh, good. Like, that's really great to know. I think that parents worry a lot about like, I did not create the perfect environment for my child. They're going to like be in trouble. It's like, no, really, they forget most of this. It's okay. It's a safety mechanism for while we're figuring parents. Like while we're figuring this out for the first few years, they don't remember it. It's really helpful.
Yeah, it very much is, you know. Because I mean, I don't even like the fact that my mind likes to record all of my most embarrassing minutes in minute detail and play them for me at night when I'm trying to sleep.
2 o'clock in the morning.
So I can't imagine like inflicting something like that. And I worry about it all the time on the kids, that something in passing that becomes just imprinted on them for life, because that's some of that happened to me. There's stuff that, you know, throw stuff to other people were throwaway phrases or not even incidents that they remember that just like imprinted on me for life. Not always scarred, but like stayed with me forever. Sometimes they don't even remember it. It's funny.
Like being a kid in chronic pain, like all of the times my parents were like, you need to toughen up. You need complaining all the time.
Either you're lazy or not tough enough.
Yeah. What's the injury report for today? Like that was like the daily stuff. And I just stopped complaining about it. I stopped talking about it. And just like that definitely has like long-term, I still go into panic attacks talking to doctors about my pain. Like, are you going to believe me? Are you going to trust me? Are you going to?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like I literally went to an emergency room with my arm was like to my boob. Like it was just hanging out at socket to my boob. I could put my entire fist into the socket. And the freaking 25-year-old emergency room doctor looked at me and goes, is this just normal for you? Is there something wrong? I'm like, I could put this through my arm. He's like, is that normal for you? I'm like, I don't know. Is it normal for you?
Normal for me like to have part of my limb hanging off my body? Why hell do you think I'm here? Yeah, I get that. I don't even expect medical professionals to believe me or care. I really don't. Oh, the first appointment is part of my screening process. Like it takes me a month to be like, okay, I trust this doctor enough to stick around. Not implicitly, but enough that I think that they'll actually talk to or receive input from my other doctors, because it has to be a team effort or none of this it's gonna work. You know, but again, I'm used to it. I can't go to the hospital when I'm in pain. They never want to give me pain relief. Not since like 2007 in Vegas. Not even the tiny babyest little bit of help. So I just can't imagine what it must be like for you to walk into a hospital with your arm actually hanging off your body. Because for me, if there was something physical that they could see, that would help. So to have somebody look at you and see an injury and ask you a dumbass question like that, it's just infuriating.
I had to find a gynecologist over Zoom because I had an emergency ovarian cyst thing that happened. So I was in and out of emergency rooms for the last 2 months. And this one gynecologist from Stanford Zoom calls in, and I'm like, oh, I love you and I will trust you with anything. Could you be my GP too? Like, could you have all the different medicines, and then you could just be my, because like the first thing this person says is, hi, this is my name. I go by she, her. What are your pronouns? And I was like,
right away. What?
Oh man. And yes, my pronouns are she, her. I very visually present as she, her. I am. The fact that she didn't take that just as is, that
not to ask
identity to ask like the first question she asked, I'm like, you are my new favorite human. Like, oh my gosh, I trust you right now with anything because you care that much about how my comfort is. And when
and I used to tell friends, if you go to a hospital and they don't say hi and find out what your name is, and I'm going to take care of you. Like if I don't hear that phrase, I'm leaving the hospital, because I have medical professionals in my family who are properly trained and they know like what to do and certain things to say. And so I always feel this sense of distrust when they don't say that one phrase. I don't know if it's part of their training, but everywhere I've gone in America, if it's a good hospital, they say that to you.
There's a show that I love called Call a Midwife. And the last,
I've been meaning to watch that.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. But the last seasons, there's been a nurse from, I think she's from Jamaica. And I love her because whenever she's working with someone, she calls them precious. Like the
Oh.
whole time she's calling them Precious. Precious, it's okay. Precious, I've got you. I've got you. I'm right here with you. And I'm like, I'm going to freaking weep, because the idea of a doctor who's by me when I'm scared, telling me that I'm precious, that I'm important, that they care, they actually emotionally care about my well-being, would like level me. Like that would just be it. I'd be like, I love you so much. I will trust you.
I broke down crying in my oncologist's office because I was having just a bad day. It was chemo, and then it was emotional stuff, and then it was just a hard day. And I was sitting there, and I, was so upset, not upset enough to cry, but of course you'd be able to see it on my face. And she was just walking past, and she wasn't even my doctor. She was just one of the ones who owns the practice. And she was walking by, and she saw me, and she turned around and said, "Are you okay, Tinu?" I was like, this chick knows my name inside my head. She's just like, well, and she comes back and she touches my shoulder and says, "Just remember, we love you, and we're going to take the best care of you that we can." We love you, from a medical professional. Can you imagine?
I can't.
I lost it. I cried for like 10 minutes. She had to like call on her server. But even now during COVID, I have not been to that place in 3 years. I haven't been in Maryland in 3 years, for crying out loud. They sent me a note they sent me a personal note, and then they sent a general newsletter that said, remember that we care about you, and that, if you need anything, you can come talk to us. Here's all the changes we made to make your experience with us easier during COVID. And like they did everything from telemedicine to delivering prescriptions, or if you're having problems getting your prescriptions, they had like this service, this courier thing that they were going to do. They were so reassuring, and they're such great doctors. The main lady that was my doctor, she was both a hematologist and an oncologist, and she used to work at the Lombardi Center in DC. And so I tell people, like, look for doctors who used to be at those big, expensive practices, because, they leave there sometimes, and sometimes the reason is they want to be, like, more personal with you. And I think that was, like, I feel like that's their story. I'm probably projecting part of my own ideas onto them, but from what they've said, it sounds like, because it's a 2-woman practice.
I was just talking to a friend of mine. So I just watched the Unwell documentary on Netflix. And
Unwell?
Mm-hmm.
I've been avoiding that. Is it?
Yeah. It's a documentary on the wellness industry, and I'm really good at keeping my blood pressure up. That was helpful.
I've been avoiding that. That's post-pandemic affair for me. But what happened?
I mean, like, I have like a huge hatred and distrust of the wellness industry, like a visceral, like absolute finger up. You are selling snake oil, and you are profiting off of the suffering of others and the fear of others. Now, I'm also susceptible to it.
Right.
I've done all the diets.
I was just going to say, even though I feel that way, sometimes I go, oh, why don't I try this?
Yeah.
And it's...
Yeah, Brandy and I had a whole talk on our supplemental graveyard. We have like a graveyard of supplements.
Wow.
Did not work. And so anyway, I just finished watching it, and a friend of mine recovered from breast cancer. And one thing about the wellness industry is it attracts this idea of magical thinking.
Oh, yeah.
And responsibility for your illness. And the words out of a brilliant, amazing woman who I love to the moon and back were, "My stress caused my cancer, and I'm afraid my stress will bring it back." And I was like, fuck the wellness industry.
Wow.
Like,
wow.
I can't even hold that. You are a grown-up, and you understand that your cancer is cells that malformed and divided wrong. Your stress didn't cause that. Like, it didn't. It made you not feel good, and it was bad, but your stress didn't. And so she was like putting all this pressure on herself to not feel stress, because cancer.
But it's stressful to not feel stress.
Exactly.
so you're it's like screwed.
Enough bad to deal with right now. She doesn't need to then try to like modulate that she feels stressed about a stressful situation. Like,
it's terrible.
So angry with all the responsibility it puts on people that isn't their responsibility. Like, that needs.
Oh yeah, it's the same blame shifting that happens with, if you would just save your money. How can you save your money when your money is bigger than your bills?
I'm sorry, but
Have
like,
to
how
do
many corporations have we had to pull out of bankruptcy
that.
because
Thank you.
plan for the future?
We subsidize them with our wages.
Mhm.
Like, are you kidding me?
Mm, mm.
Well, we're a company, but not people. Okay.
I do have to say though, I was not expecting the Democrat. I'm not a big fan of the Democratic Party. I have huge issues with it. However, this I did enjoy listening to Jill Biden's speech. Jill Biden. I
Okay.
yesterday. I think that she focuses on things that are important without like. There's no need to look at the other side and go bad. We don't know that. Like, tell me what you're gonna focus on. Tell me
Yeah.
to be better. I've already got that it's not gonna be the same, and that's why if you want to get me excited, tell me what is gonna be different. Like,
Yes. What are you going to improve? Because that's my main fear is that, the Democrats, they take the votes of poor people, of Black people, of disabled people for granted. They need us to win, but then when we vote for them, they forget about us. And every time, over and over and over again.
yeah.
But it's almost like are you voting for not getting hit with a stick or getting hit with a stick or different levels of pain from the same stick? Like, it's very frustrating to have for this organization to say they have all these ideals and then not have them actually connect in reality. So, I have some of the same frustrations. In fact, I didn't watch any of the convention because I would need to be able to fast forward. I needed it to be completely over so that I can fast forward through everything that happened, and just when I lose my patience or see somebody that irks me, I can just go past it. But I will listen to that speech. That will be first on my list.
Yeah, that sounds like self-care. Don't watch the end of it. Like, I really think if Biden wants to win, what he needs to do is to be seen as little as possible. Speak as
Thank
little
you.
as possible.
Go somewhere and shut up.
It just
That's all.
like he's very good at certain things. Go do those things. And let your wife talk for you because she's good. Let Michelle Obama talk for you. She's amazing and she should be running. Like,
right.
The more you just sit down and hush and stop touching people. Just
exactly. It was the very bottom of my list.
Don't touch others. Like, just don't stop.
Okay, we already know what people think, and we already know that people have reported things about you. Don't add to it. How hard is that?
Like, can we
go sit down somewhere and let people remember that you're not as bad as the other guy? That's just all he has to do for us not to lose all of democracy. It's very frustrating for me to see him, especially when he says something that, any of his advisors could have told him, shut the hell up. Do not say that. Don't have, that come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
It's frustrating that that's who we have to rely on to, not completely crash the entire world.
I mean, we got Kamala. Kamala's right there. Kamala, I'm a big fan. She was my number 2 draft pick choice on this whole thing. I'm very happy she got chosen as VP.
Yeah, and I get a lot of people saying, "Oh, she's a cop," and this and that, and it's like, what did you do 20 years ago that you don't want people to hold you responsible for now? Number one. Number two, she was involved in some of that, in some things that you might not think are cool, but she was part of a system. It wasn't like she decided, blah, blah, blah. And then if you look at her speeches at the time, she was talking about defunding the police in the 90s.
Yeah.
She's made several speeches about this. She's been talking about reform in the criminal justice since then, since even the 80s. So if she's been talking about it this long, almost since she was fresh out of school, then why can't we trust that since she's not going to be in a position where she's going to have authority over any people, except the people that we're trying to kick out, why is that a big deal? We've got a criminal running this country. Why wouldn't we want to come?
I find it really interesting that we have this insane purity test that we don't have for others.
Right. Exactly. Does everybody who runs for president have to be half God or something?
I mean, I would go with mildly coherent at this point. And I would like an empathy and a civics test and a psychological evaluation. That's what I would. I don't understand why we can't make them pass the test we make immigrants pass.
That absolutely.
If you're going to be in government,
If you can't pass the test that would allow you to stay in this country, then I don't trust you that you love your constituents enough or this country enough to run it. I'm sorry. I don't believe that people who, and it's not this whole thing of, oh, they have to be the super intellectual, because any president should, have their own wheelhouse that they're smart of, and then have a cabinet full of advisors who will tell them, okay, in this situation, this is what I think the best thing is. I spent my whole life researching it. I think that's what it's supposed to be. So, but they should be able, there's certain minimum things that a president should be able to do. I'm sorry. Talk in front of a crowd, read off a teleprompter. I don't think it's too much to ask. Like, my 10-year-olds can read off a teleprompter, crying out loud.
I would really like to push a movement that tax records have to be shown, and the
mandatory
would have to be mandatory to run for high levels of office. You should be able to know what a bill becoming a law would look like. Like, you should be able to prove that you understand the baseline of our government, because he doesn't, and most of them don't. And that's really
a lot of them. Exactly. A lot of them don't. A lot of them don't know what their jobs are. A lot of them, we know more about their jobs than they do. Like, remember when they were doing the electoral college vote online live? Maxine Waters was the only one to protest, but she didn't know to submit it in writing. And the vice president kept repeating to her that she should do that. Nobody could hand her a pen and piece of paper. She didn't have any aides to just say, listen, everybody just write down our objections, because I promise you they didn't have computers in colonial times. So writing means any kind of writing. Not one person thought, let me lodge a protest in writing. And it's like, none of you know what your job is. None of you, not one of you. So that was very, very disappointing. And I've been keeping a list of, here's the things that we're going to have to change in order to make this whole thing work. Because it's just shocking to find out that all of the shit was being run on the honor system. Yep. They just believed that people were not going to, do certain things. And they do. Of course they do. Of course we were going to eventually get somebody who went, ooh, look at all these loopholes I could exist in, Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's very frustrating.
But I'm really, aside from the homeless issue, which is going to be massive in the next.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of newcomers to chronic illness thanks to COVID.
Yes, the long COVID people. And I'm going to disappear for a second while I fix my hat, but I'm listening to you.
Okay, well, not important. But yeah, what I'm concerned about is all the new people who are coming to disability, and this system is so imperfect and so troublesome. And I'm hoping that this builds empathy. But so, okay, I was listening to Elizabeth Gilbert talk the other day, and she was like, we're running away from our emotions during this time of isolation. She's like, now we're starting to understand how scary isolation is, how hard it is for us as humans. Yep. Why isn't this transferring over to abolishing prison system, solitary confinement?
Right.
Why is it building our empathy? Why are we running away from our feelings where we could actually be building empathy for these causes? And it's that's something that I'm really that was one of the best. It's a TED Talk, and she's being interviewed.
Oh, it's a TED Talk, so I can watch it. Cool.
So good. I will send you the link. It's
Thanks.
I was sitting here tears rolling down. I'm like, this is fucking therapy on how to because everyone's talking about make the most of your COVID time, and a lot of it's actually pretty abusive. It's
yes, it's so now that I am frightened out of my mind and stressed beyond belief that I might get a disease that could kill me, I should take this opportunity to build my next startup.
And become a comic book and write your novel. And
no, I'm gonna go curl up in my bed and cry. Thank you.
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yes. And there's something about her that is psychotically calming. Even telling you really hard truths, all these Zoom calls, are constant, push away from what's happening and not actually facing it. Winston Churchill, I think it was Winston Churchill, said the only way to get through hell is to go straight through it. And that's not an easy truth to face. When we're grieving.
But it's true. It is true.
It's true. And we have to learn how to hold on to things that we really hate and terrified of. And even when she's telling you these things where you're like, no, but I don't want to. Like she's
okay, can it be somebody else's job?
yeah, like so she talked to Tim Ferris, who I actually really like, and but I have a hard time with him because he talks about stoicism, which is a really incredible thing to study and research, like how Stoics handle life's ups and downs. It's really cool. But it's kind of hard when you're listening to someone whose life is so vastly different than yours. It's like,
right.
Well, that's good for you. Like, so
exactly. You know, when your chef is finished bringing your lunch, you know, I'll be sure to take that under advisement.
Yeah. Well, also, like, it's like I'm a mom. I can't really do a lot of that. Where it's like, well, you know, once a month or so, I live at my absolute poverty line, and I sleep on the floor, and I do all these things. And it's like,
okay, that's great. But
yeah, like he's like, it's how I get over fear. It's like if I actually had to live a bit like this is what it would feel like, so I can get. And like that's cool, not applicable.
Right.
So when she's talking about it, and she's just lost the love of her life, she's gone through a whole bunch of things that I can pretty viscerally relate. I haven't lost the love of my life, but there's a lot that she goes through that I can relate to. And so when she's talking about it, it's like my ears perk up a little bit more. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, I got you.
Oh boy,
you're getting tired, and I should let you go.
Yeah, I am fading a little bit. I was sitting here trying to gauge, is this a steep decline, or can I ride this out for a little while longer? Because I hate hanging up with you. I really do.
No, I kidnap you all the time, and I love you, and I always want to see you forever.
I just honestly think you just kidnap me every Wednesday, like in some way, shape, or form. And also, I'm starting to work on my own projects. Like now, I put on makeup every day just in case I decide to be on camera, and that's your fault.
Doing this again. I pajamas. I don't care. I do care. Every time you talk to me, I have like not brushed my hair, no makeup, and I'm wearing my pajamas.
That's why I didn't want to be on camera. Yeah, now that I'm working a little bit steady and I can afford to like cutify myself, I enjoy the process. Like it's very soothing to me to be like, you know, it's soothing to me. So yeah.
My little one's like super into like she just shaved half her head.
No way.
Yeah, she has her hair like Natalie Portman, the professional, like it's like right to the jawline.
She's gonna look so
and then she
cute.
Just up. She looks so. Oh, she just looks adorable. And then we were on Rue La La. Is that it? The like. For crying out loud! I was gonna tell you about it because they actually have medical equipment.
Oh, cool.
Which is like making me see. Oh no, Poshmark. So we were shopping because like I have a weird addiction to pretty shoes, and they're expensive. Verpetos are my favorite, and they're $300 a pair. So I go onto the site. I got them for $20. So I was very excited about that. And then I was like, I wonder if they have bracing. And so the Mueller bracing, that like the really like $300.
Really?
I bought them for $15. So if you were looking,
I was like surprised that you were able to get them for $15. Oh my god!
Right, the other day. I mean, the bad part is the heat right now. So I have mast cell activation disorder, which means I can get allergic to anything.
Oh damn it!
And it has a neoprene inside, and the heat just made my skin absorb it. So I took it off my arm, that much bigger, and it was bright red.
Oh shit!
But
talk about defeating the purpose.
Yeah, I'm cold, so that's good. But yeah, no, seriously, like it's called Poshmark, and I've been getting like
I'm writing it down.
I'm getting my shirts. Like I always buy everything used and vintage. Like everything I own is pretty much bought used. But this is
I believe in that.
Yeah, well, like I don't like fast fashion, and I also hate spending money. So,
well, I mean, yeah, that's my thing with I like some fashion stuff, but because I'm plus size, it makes me very angry when I have to pay like twice as much for like 25% more material. And they don't do that to men. So I buy a lot of men's clothes. I buy a lot of things that are made for me from Nigerian cloth. And then I find like inexpensive sites like Curvy Sense, where right now they're having like a 50% off of all their sale clearance item sales. So it's like where I got this hat and some of this other cute stuff. So I believe in that. Like I like nice, cute things, but I hate spending like way more money just because I have like extra breasts. It's not fair.
I just bought a corset because my ribs have been popping out all the time. So
man.
Yeah, and like the corset, I found a really cool corset maker in San Francisco, but they're like, oh, it's gonna be $400. I'm like, that is not happening.
Oh no, there's a Brazilian one called Squeam that you can get on Amazon, and it has like a rubber, and it has a rubber on one side, cloth on the other. No, the rubber would be on the outside. Still too bad.
Yeah, no, like I needed actual lacing. Like I need to be able to like.
Oh, like to yeah. They have one where you can you clip it instead. You have like hooks. What'd you say?
My like little corset, like Jane Austen-y sort of dream.
Yes, I want one of the strings. I don't know how to get them, but I'm gonna find it somewhere.
Okay, on the website, the thing I just told you, they have like all these corset makers.
They do.
I just found a leather one that I'm like, yes, I will feel
definitely. I need not buy a leather corset. Like that's a law, I think.
I'm super into it. And they have plus sizes all the time. As I'm like the in between thing. Like I'm a size like a 10, 12, sometimes 14, depending on like my weight will change like 10 pounds a month.
Right.
Like, the week before my period, I will swell up like 10 pounds almost every month. So it's like I have to have like 3 in my closet.
I'm familiar with that phenomenon. Yuck.
I'm like, and I went in for physical therapy. I was like gonna relocate my rib. I was like, why is your bra on so tight? I'm like, because it was loose when I put it on this morning. Like, hey, I go up a dress size. Like,
yeah, I'm sorry. Anyway, that must be so frustrating. There's a word in Yoruba that kind of means like, I'm sorry that happened to you and I'm feeling empathy, but like, I can't say that whole thing every time. And then if I say the word, people are like, what?
English sucks.
I always just say sorry.
Things. All right, well, I'm starting to burn up and my muscle is starting to kick in, so I need to go and curl in a small ball.
Okay, I hope you feel better.
And we'll talk.
All right, bye, honey.
Bye.